Peace, family, and welcome back to Black Families Rising, where we bring the Black family to the forefront. Here at this podcast, we tackle the tough issues facing our families and communities while working together to find solutions. I'm Grinder, the strong dad, Spencer.
And I'm Jasa Love. We're here to have the honest conversations about the state of Black families and what we can do to rise above the challenges. Today's topic is both alarming and critical: the steady decline of marriage rates among Black Americans.
And that's something that we felt really needed to be talked about. Us as a married couple, we hold this near and dear to our hearts, not really knowing what the statistics look like, which is really, really tough to swallow, but it's something to think about. There are a lot of us, that are here, in America and whatnot, and a lot of us aren't married. There are a lot of, young men and women out here who just, for some reason, it just didn't happen. But it's a decline because, there are other ethnic groups that stick together more than we do, especially when it comes to relationships. So it's something that we really need to, dive into. So that's what we're here for. So let's get into it. Now, I'm going to speak statistics, as I said earlier. According to recent data, only about 38% of Black Americans are married, which is significantly lower than the national average. Projections show that this number could decline even further over the next 20 years or so, right? That's wow. That's rough to think about, especially when it comes to Black men, many of whom never marry.
That's crazy. Well, this isn't just a statistic, it's a crisis with deep-rooted causes and far-reaching consequences for our families, our communities, and our future generations.
Something, like I said, it's something to talk about, you guys.
Yeah.
So let's jump into it. All right. So then we want to talk about understanding the decline, okay? First and foremost. So let's start with the big question. How did we get here? Simple and plain. How did we get to this point?
Right. Okay, so there are several factors at play. Economic disparities are a huge issue, as well as we know that Black families historically have faced limited access to wealth building opportunities, which can make the idea of marriage, often seen as a financial partnership, seem less attainable.
That's true. A lot of times you don't want to, as I used to hear a lot of times from the old folks in my neighborhood, you don't want to bring somebody into your mess.
Right. Right.
So, a lot of us are going through financial struggles, trying to find the right job, trying to find the right career, low wages, but higher rates when it comes to living situations. So it makes it hard for you to get your bank account and your investments in order. So that's one thing that deters people. You don't want to get into a relationship or marriage or partnership with someone feeling like, well, I won't be able to take care of this person. I won't be able to take care of my, what if we want to start a family, have kids? I won't be able to take care of my family in the way that I would, that I need to or would like to. You know what I'm saying? So that makes it hard when you think about it as a financial partnership, which is the way that we were taught. You know what I'm saying? I was definitely taught, you want to take care of your family, but you need to be the breadwinner of the family, head of household, as it says on your taxes.
Right.
So it's always placed on us, especially as black men, to take care of our families. And if you don't, do it, or something's going on, you're looked at as a deadbeat father or a bad husband. When the truth of the matter is, a lot of times it's not even that. I've been in situations where I was working my butt off, but I just wasn't getting paid enough.
Right.
And, the family of your spouse or whoever look at you like, what is he doing for her? She could find somebody better than him. You know what I'm saying? But men families, they do it too. He with this heifer. What's she doing? She ain't doing nothing but just laying up on her hind part. You know you're from the South when you say hind part. She's just laying up on her hind part, ain't doing nothing, just watching TV all day, kids running amok. He out there working hard to have my baby out there. You tell I've been through something, you hear how I'm sounding. But it's real. So, that's one that's definitely a huge one that keeps people from getting married. And then there's mass incarceration. Black men are incarcerated at a much higher rate than any other demographic. And this creates a ripple effect, if not only disrupting relationships, but also it's leaving a significant portion of black men disconnected from family life altogether. That's another deep one. A lot of us are incarcerated. I myself had been incarcerated, and it did damage me and some of my older kids' relationship. I'm working towards building those relationships up now. One of my children is incarcerated. You know what I'm saying? And it did something to us. It definitely left me disconnected from my family. But if I just think about a lot of times, if I hadn't been married and going through those situations, once I got out, would I have even wanted to get married? Like, would I've wanted to bring someone into my situation? A lot of times when you come out of prison or jail, you still have a pending case or what have you. So you don't want to, bring someone into a relationship with you and you got this going on. Everybody's not going to be as understanding as you would want them to be. Empathy is lacking in our standards in this society.
Yes.
So,
that's true.
But yeah, that's something that is also, part of the situation. I was trying to find a certain word.
No, it's fine. I mean, that was a heavy subject. It was a heavy topic. So, right. I mean, when we talk about our men, our black men being incarcerated at, mass numbers, okay, for even the slightest little thing,
right?
It does put a wedge in between our marriages because, in order to have a successful marriage, you have to be mentally well, right?
That's right.
Physically well, spiritually well, emotionally well. So, and that takes a hold. Being incarcerated takes you back and developing those tactics and techniques in order to have a successful, thriving marriage. So it's very real. And if you're unable to find someone that can emphasize and truly understand what it is to go through that, it often would leave someone to be alone for the rest of their lives, because that is a serious issue, and it does really affect the mental health of our black men. You know, so it is something to think about and look at. I know we know about the mass incarceration. We know about black people being incarcerated at higher rates than other cultures and ethnicities. But, just keeping in mind the mental impact it has and, being incarcerated has on our people. And I'm not, Black women as well. Black
That's
women
right.
are being incarcerated. So it's it's just a lot to think about in regards to why the decline in our marriages has, decreased in such a huge percentage.
And before we move on, and speaking about the incarceration rate, something that we need to think about, and I know a lot of people don't look at it, especially if you haven't been in that situation, you've never been incarcerated. A lot of people never really fully leave with their mind intact.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You have people who are still, like you say, Stockholm syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. People are still left in that state of mind of being incarcerated.
Right.
I have a close friend, family member right now who is going through that. He still, you know what I'm saying, cooks a lot of the ways, eats the same way that we used to eat when we were incarcerated.
Right.
That's the real thing.
Yeah.
She could tell you, I did it. I did it with the first part of our marriage. It was like, even though I had, listen, it's been a while for me, but some stuff you still carry with you. You know what I mean? But we have that mentality. So when you have that mentality when you come home, it makes it hard for you to be in a relationship because you're still stuck on the inside in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You're still stuck there. And, I've seen that a lot with a lot of, especially older gentlemen who are incarcerated at an early age. And then it gets time for them to get parole, and they're like, "Oh, what am I doing? Like going outside?" You know what I'm saying? Most of my family's gone. I got locked up when I was young. He don't know what's going on the outside. Relationships, with women are different now than it was when he got locked up.
Right.
So that alone would definitely make it hard for someone like him to come home and say, "Well, I'm gonna start over." And I'm going to have a healthy relationship. You know what I'm saying? When after all of this time and being incarcerated, you don't even have a healthy relationship with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to rebuild that relationship within yourself before you can come home and have a relationship with someone else.
That's true. That's so true. Yeah. It starts with yourself first, right?
That's right.
So if you don't have yourself together, it's hard to be with someone else. So, but thank you for expounding on that.
I had to.
I love it. And let's not forget about our societal attitudes right now, right? So I know everyone, if you've been on social media, you've seen all of the podcasts and all of these things talking negatively about marriages and, being an independent woman and just everything, men rating women and the balloon popping
I hate that, the
and
balloon
just
pop.
all of these things, right? That is
Please
really
get
causing,
rid of that. I'm sorry,
really
get rid of that.
causing the division. And, in Black marriages, it's ridiculous. So marriage is increasingly seen as optional or outdated, especially among our younger generations.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, these changing norms can influence Black Americans to delay marriage or avoid it altogether, right? Right now, everyone is talking about, getting to the money. That's the thing. I'd rather have money than have, a person, a man, a woman, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that mindset is really pushing the narrative of, not being married, or, you don't have to be married, or marriage is outdated, or
Right.
And then all the negative things about marriage, you see people cheating on each other pushed out to the forefront, and or toxic things, abuse, and all of these things pushed out to the forefront instead of loving and positive messages about marriages, and seeing those positive things that happens in Black marriages. kind of, just pushes the narrative and cause people to think like, if that's what marriage is, then I don't want it.
Right.
Like, and I get it. If that's all you see about a marriage, I would thoroughly understand it. I would be definitely afraid,
Right.
And so just making sure that we are able to change the narrative that if this is something that you want, if marriage is something that you want, especially being, Black marriages, if this is something that you want, then center yourself around marriages that are positive and loving, that you can look up to, whether it's on the internet or, whether it's in your personal life.
Right.
And just so for a fact that positive, successful Black marriages do exist.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. That's something that we've done.
Yeah.
It made it hard for us to really be around people at one point because of what she just talked about. You know what I'm saying? We've, for the I want to say the first half of our marriage, it seemed like everybody that we knew was either going through a divorce or talking about it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
Even if they was just in a relationship, it wasn't working. You know what I'm saying? And I'm talking family members, friends. And once we moved around and got away from that, we made a conscious decision, first of all, but we want to be around married couples that are actually thriving.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That are doing what we're doing, or at least want to. You know what I'm saying? And that, I got to be honest, it helps us. I feel like it helps the other couples too. I hope it is, but it definitely helps us to see, couples, men and women, you know what I'm saying? Or other than, other type of relationships. Ain't leaving nobody out. But,
no.
But it's a healthy relationship, regardless of anything, is important to be around if you're in a relationship with someone. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't want to see, if you're around someone that's constantly going through something, 9 times out of 10, you'll do the same thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If you're dealing with a husband and a wife and you're married, you know what I'm saying? And let's say I chill with this guy, you know what I'm saying? He's married, but he out here cheating. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that I have to cheat or that I want to cheat, but that type of lifestyle, stuff starts coming towards you. You know what I'm saying? And even if you not out there doing anything, your wife and his wife are friends. She already telling her, yeah, I know what he doing. And now got your wife thinking, well damn, he out there with him. And she talking about she know what he doing and what my husband doing. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And if you put yourself in those type of circles, you know what I mean? Yeah, stuff could happen. Nobody's perfect. But at the same time, you have to understand that if you want a healthy marriage, or you yourself, you know who you are. You know what I'm saying? So you definitely don't want to put yourself around people who are like that. You know what I'm saying? So in order for us to have healthy relationships, we need to surround ourselves around people who have healthy relationships. Or just stay away from other, people altogether. Just be you and your spouse, and just handle it that way. I mean, that works for me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
True.
Another key point: Black Americans tend to marry later in life compared to other racial groups. I've seen this. I had an uncle and I had a cousin that was, me and him around the same age. He been with this girl, oh my God, for so long. His kids and my kids the same age. And I think they married now, but for the longest, I was like, man, when y'all gonna do that?
Right.
Man, look, I mean, she know I love her and whatnot, man. You know what I'm saying? And it's good enough for us. So,
That's true.
that happens though. So, but while delaying marriage isn't inherently bad, it does contribute to overall, the lower overall marriage rates that we are seeing. You know what I'm saying? So it is something to consciously think about, But I mean, and you know, in certain places they still have what they call, what is it? Common law marriages. So if
Common
you've
law
been with
marriage.
someone, I think it's up to 7 years.
Yeah, 7 or more.
7 or more, then y'all are basically married. You know, and in some places that's legally binding.
Right.
You know what I mean? So when you have situations like this, it, you know, that kind of deters you too. Like, well, why get married if where I'm at, they're gonna just say we, you know, it's like we married anyway. You know what I'm saying? And I guess that's enough for some people, but for me, if that is your thing, then stay together. You know what I mean?
Right.
Don't, okay, well, they saying we married, but we not really married. I'm just go do me anyway. You know what I'm saying? Because that's where the problem lies. If that is the case, fine. But stick with that one person. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Stay with that person, because that's the disconnect. And that's what we're talking about right here. There's the issue with the marriage rates, you know, with people doing stuff outside of the marriage is one thing. So if you're not sticking together, then it's bad altogether. You know what I mean?
That's true. I agree. I do agree. I also agree that, you know, with the statistics is just something to think about. You know, why it's so low. Not that getting married later on is bad, because I wouldn't say that. I would always make sure that you are ready for marriage before you take that step.
And happy with the person.
Right, and happy with the person. Right. Man, I always stand behind that. Dude, that's something you do not want to rush or jump into, right? So I don't think it's anything wrong with that. It's just something that causes the dip into, you know, in the statistics and the rates at which we're getting married.
That's true.
Okay, so let's talk about it. The gender disparities and the marriage gap. So one of the most striking aspects of this trend is the gender gap. Black men are significantly less likely to marry compared to Black women.
And this disparity creates a lot of challenges, especially for Black women who want to marry within their race, but find fewer available partners. This isn't just about numbers, guys. It's about how systematic barriers have disproportionately affected Black men. So what we're talking about.
Right.
So basically, you know, you hear a lot of, and it ain't just the women, the men too, you know, yeah, I'd rather be with you know, I'm just saying, I'd rather be with a white woman because they treat us better, or, you know what I'm saying? Or I'd rather be with, you know, a white man because, and vice versa, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with an interracial marriage, whether we believe in it or not. It is up to the person. People, you're going to love who you want to love regardless. It has nothing to do with what me or my wife thinks or anybody else thinks. If this person is good for you, if this person really understands you, if you're thinking outside your race, this person and you have to realize that, you know, there are going to be differences. Right. You know what I'm saying? I had a friend of mine, that they're actually brothers, and they was telling me how now one's completely white, I want to say Caucasian, and his brother is mixed. And I used to get conversations all the time, like how their grandmother was. You know what I'm saying? Like they have sisters and whatnot, or other family members who have dealt outside the race. So it's like, okay, it's a normal thing. But grandma ain't having it. She was raised from the old days. You know what I'm saying? She still will call people niggas and jigaboos and coons and monkeys. and stuff like that. And it got to the point where it's like, all right, look here. If you ain't gonna deal with my son because he's another color, or you ain't gonna deal with your sister, my daughter's sons, whatever, then you don't need to deal with me. Point blank, period.
Right.
And that's something that you need to think about if you're gonna be in an interracial marriage. Again, a person is, man, you love who you want to love.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? We feel differently about it for lots of reasons. But regardless of that, we're all human beings and we all have feelings and we have needs. You may not find the love that you want from someone in your race. Mm-hmm. I would love to believe that all of us can, but for some reason it just doesn't work that way. So if that's what works for you, that's fine. But realize there are some beautiful black women and men out here to choose from.
Yes.
And I choose from.
Yes.
But again, love who you want to love, for real, all jokes aside. Mm-hmm. But we just again guys, we're talking about the statistics here. And the reasons why they're saying that there are issues with black marriages. And again, I gotta say that this really is one of them. And the other side to that is the fact that you have people who are using the interracial factor as to downgrade our black brothers and sisters.
Right.
And that is the problem. Mm-hmm. Again, love who you want to love, but don't say, oh, just because you're with somebody of another race, that makes you or this person better than the rest of us.
Exactly.
That makes your relationship better than other relationships.
Right.
You have to understand what our people are going through in relations to this. You know, one of the reasons we don't believe in it is because there was a time when if a black man looked at a white woman, he got murdered, castrated, or worse. Mm-hmm. You've seen it. You know, the Emmett Till can't go any further. You know what I'm saying? The young boys who I forgot, I think it was like 7 of them who got arrested because these 2 young white girls lied and said that they did something to them. You know what I mean? So for and even now it's happening where if you know you look at someone out of another race, somebody who sees it wants to get mad, they want to fight or cause drama. So a young man got murdered for a situation like that. Not too about a year or so ago. So it does make you feel some type of way, like, well, why would I think about being outside my race when I have to deal with discrimination and racism? But on the other hand, you can deal with that right here in your own community. Yes. Because of your religion or how you live your life. We deal with it. We get discriminated against from some of our own people just because we live a little differently. Yes. We teach our kids a little differently. So all of these things do play a part in the disconnect with black marriages. But again, it is up to your discretion how you choose to live your life and conduct your marriage. You just have to, again, keep these things in mind.
And that's why it's so important to address this issue holistically. It's not just about encouraging marriage. It's also about removing the barriers that prevent it, whether those are economic, social, or cultural, or religious. Okay.
Right.
Like my husband was stating, if you don't, a lot of the biggest barrier, I believe, in our community is the religious barrier. I got so much flack for marrying my husband who was Muslim at the time. And I was a Christian at the time. It was like, how can that work together? Y'all don't believe it. And I believe in Jesus Christ. And, so we went through the ringer with that. And, and I'm like, well, at least I'm married black,
Right.
At least I married a black man.
But that wasn't enough.
But it wasn't enough. It was like, oh, he had to be black and Christian, you know? And so, you know, it's we really do have to break down those barriers and learn to love each other for who we are.
That's right.
And, you know, not necessarily for what they believe in and, you know, other things like that. Because what he believed in had nothing to do with me. You know, it didn't cause a disruption in our family dynamic. It didn't cause anything. And then me as a child, I was always open-minded and optimistic. I'm still that way to this day. Right. So I learned about different cultures and religious backgrounds and, you know, and explored beyond what I knew and what, you know, what was taught to me, because I believe in unity. You know, I believed in loving a person for who they are and who they, you know, what they believe in, and that shouldn't deter us from being able to be in relationships with one another. And so since I had that belief, I had to stick by that, you know, and we teach our kids that the same way. You shouldn't hate a person or dislike a person because they believe differently from you. You should be able to still connect with that person and learn from them, because at the end of the day, we're here to learn. We're here in this world to learn from one another, and relationships are put here to help us learn more about ourselves, help us improve. So, you know, in that way, we were able to strengthen our marriage and our connection against, you know, everything that opposed us and our beliefs and how we, you know, fell in love with one another. So,
right. So here's a question. Why should we care about marriage rates, right? Some might say, what's the big deal? Marriage isn't for everyone. Marriage is not for everyone, which is true.
Right.
And while this is true, marriage plays a social role in community stability, especially in our community stability.
Yeah, that's very crucial. It plays a huge role in our community stability. So, and research shows that children raised in two-parent households generally have better outcomes in terms of education, emotional stability, and financial success. Families led by married couples also tend to build more generational wealth, which is vital for closing the racial wealth gap.
And this decline in marriage rates isn't just a personal issue, it's a community issue.
Right.
Think about this, when fewer people marry, right, it impacts how we build families, how we transfer our wealth, and how we create strong support systems. All right. So if you don't have a strong family dynamic, a lot of times you don't have a strong support system.
Right.
All right. Me and my wife both went through it. You know, dysfunctional families do not make for great support systems.
No.
There's just no way. You know what I'm saying? So
they support your dysfunction.
Right.
Dysfunctional families support the dysfunction.
Right. We need a t-shirt with it.
If they don't support, if you're not dysfunctional, they cannot support you.
Right.
Okay.
So that would have something to do. Like, that's what you need to think about when you think about the decline of marriage rates. This right here is the importance of it. Why this means something. Okay.
Yeah.
So can we fix this?
Yeah.
Can we fix this?
I believe we can. So I believe we can fix this. First, the trend can be reversed, right? Anything that's put into place, we can reverse it. And the good news is that it is possible, but it's going to require effort on multiple levels.
First, we need to focus on economic empowerment, right? making sure that we are able to handle the responsibilities of marriage, right? And not just one person, but both people. Okay. And now you do have those marriage dynamics where the man or the woman is working and someone is staying home, especially if you have a lot of kids. And in that case, it's a 50-50 deal. Me and her, we went through that in the beginning of our marriage. You know, there was a point, especially during COVID and after COVID, there was a point when I was working and she was a stay-at-home mom. Then there was a time when she was working and I was a stay-at-home dad. So, you know, that was just one thing, but that's how we kept our economics going in our household.
Yes.
And marriage becomes a more viable option when individuals feel financially stable, right? If you don't feel financially stable, it's hard to enjoy the marriage, man. You're struggling the whole time you guys are married.
Right.
It makes it hard. That means supporting Black businesses, advocating for fair wages, man, creating more opportunities for economic mobility.
Yes, agree. And second, we need to address the stigma around therapy and counseling in our community.
Yes.
So many of us carry unhealed trauma that affects our relationships. We can't build strong marriages without doing the inner work first. I'm all about doing the inner work, okay? If you need help with that, come see me and my husband, because, you know, he's a coach, a life coach as well. So we are all about doing the inner work first, and make sure, like, when you go into counseling and everything, that you are doing counseling with people that believes in marriage, that they have a positive outlook on marriage, and that they are there to assist you. You don't want to be in counseling with someone that doesn't support you, right? And they dump their garbage or their perspective and their projections and their beliefs onto you, right? So make sure that we are choosing the correct people to help us navigate through our marriages, okay?
And let's not underestimate the power of mentorship, y'all.
Yes. Older
couples who've navigated the challenges of marriage successfully can play a huge role in guiding younger couples. We need to normalize conversations about the value of commitment and partnership.
Yes, we do. That's so true. A lot of older couples I looked up to, or just speak to in passing. I mean, we have a favorite Uber driver we talk to that always give daily nuggets and wisdom whenever we come across each other, and it's just beautiful that that they are willing to share that with us, and just know that a lot of elderly married couple wants to share their wisdom. They can't take it with them. So use them, you know, talk to them. They love for you to talk to them and engage with them. They have so much knowledge and wisdom to share. And then also, you know, look at it, you know, you don't have to take their advice word for word, but if it applies, you know, use it. If it works for you, you know, always do what works best for you in your marriage. Okay.
That's true.
Don't look outside, you know, on social media and everything else. Don't look outside for validation or anything like that. Just, you know, do what's best for you.
Right.
That will save a lot of marriages. Do what works for you, not what works for everybody else.
But what works for you.
What works for you.
All right. So now it's time for action. If we don't address this issue, the consequences will be dire. Like, can't express this enough, y'all. Not just for us, but for our children and their children. Imagine a future where strong Black families are a rarity instead of the norm. That's not a future that we can afford to accept. So here's what we're asking you to do. It's simple. Start the conversation. Talk to your friends. Talk to your family, man.
Yes.
Your community. Do it in the church, in the masjids,
right?
At the grocery store,
wherever.
When you're washing your clothes at the laundromat.
Mm-hmm.
But for real, man,
at the kids' games, wherever it is,
wherever you are, start the conversation.
Yes.
Start the conversation about the importance of marriage and family stability.
Mm-hmm. And if you're married, invest in your relationship. Be a role model for others.
Mm-hmm.
If you're single, think about how you can prepare yourself for a strong and healthy partnership. And let's push for systemic change. Advocate for policies that support family stability, whether that's criminal justice reform, affordable housing, or access to mental health resources.
Right. And this is about more than just marriage.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Seriously.
Yes.
It's about rebuilding the foundation of our communities and ensuring a brighter future for the next generation.
Yes.
That's really what this is about, you guys.
Yes. So I hope you take this. I hope you learned something from this. Let us know in the comments and things of what you think about it, what you think about marriage, and what you think about Black marriages. You know, do you think that we can change the narrative? I believe our daughter does. She is crying in the background. Our baby girl. Those that do not know, we had a baby girl.
Yes, August 30th.
August 30th of last year. She hit her 6-month mark, and she is. Yes, making her debut. She wants to be known. Okay, so
she wants to build the podcast. Baby Anashe will have her own episode in the near future.
You will hear from her.
Yes.
But yeah, if you have any, comments, questions, or if you are a happily Black married couple, we would love to hear from you and put your input in as far as how your marriage is successful. What things that you do to make your marriage successful as well.
Yes.
So, Yeah.
So you guys check us out, man, on our Facebook page, Instagram page, TikTok, YouTube, like she said, and let us know how you feel about this. And please, we're trying to navigate people to navigate people to our Patreon.
Yes.
So Patreon. Come check us out on our Patreon, Black Families Rising.
Yes.
And converse with us, man. Become a member. We'll have all of our stuff will be up there. New videos, podcasts,
merch,
everything.
Blogs.
Right now we actually have some merch we're trying to sell for a fundraiser that we're doing to help Black families who are families of victims of gun violence, and it's called Books Up, Guns Down.
Yes.
And we have some merch. We're trying to raise $50,000, you guys, so that we can help as many families as possible by starting a fund to help people who are going through emergencies and crises and dealing with the repercussions of losing someone to gun violence.
Yes.
So check us out. We'll have all that information available for you guys so you can donate, share it with your friends, tag someone who would love to donate. And yeah, man, just stay positive, love one another, do what's right for you, but have empathy for others. All right?
Yes.
Respect one another. That's the key. That's the goal in building and rebuilding our communities. This is about us being better, seeing ourselves better.
Yes.
Knowing who we are, learning who we are, and teaching it. You know what I'm saying? Connecting with one another, investing in one another, loving one another.
Yes.
All right. So we hope that you guys enjoyed this episode and that it resonated with you. And again, anything else you want to say, babe?
Love thy neighbor.
Yes, man. So without further ado, we will say at this time, what we always say, keep striving,
keep rising.
peace, family.
Peace.
No matter how it's going, live a little life. Stack that paper, be faithful to your wife. And if you locked down, Machiavelli, hold your head. If you locked down, Machiavelli, hold your head. The Don Illuminati, all through your body. Watch the word of God blast, 12 gauge shot it. And if you locked down, Machiavelli, hold your head. If you locked down, Machiavelli, hold your head. Man, take care of them kids, never give up on them. Take care of the babies, let them know you love them. And if you locked down, Machiavelli, hold your head. If you locked down, Machiavelli, hold your head. No matter how it is, it's a blessing in the skies. No matter how it is, it's a blessing in the sky. Find a way to survive, cause they win when your soul dies. You can't own a child of God, we free in the mind. You can't own a child of God, we free in the mind. You can't own a child of God, we free in the mind. You can't own a child of God, we free in the mind. You can't own a child of God.